G'day everybody, welcome back to another tipping video on the channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing my tips for round 10 of the 2022 AFL season. Jeez Louise, this season has gone bloody fast. Already week 10. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That'd be much appreciated. And let's kick it off as per usual with my tips from last week. Okay, my tips from round 9, and I managed to get the score that I did from the previous round, and I secured a 6 out of 10. Not too bad, you know, it could have been better, could have been worse, but you know, I'm slowly starting to rise myself up the ranks. But we'll just quickly go over the games as per usual. Collingwood versus the Bulldogs. Tip the Pies here. I just thought, you know, why not? Went for the risky tip. I thought they had it in them, but Bulldogs, just convincingly beat them thoroughly throughout the park. 𝐓𝐴𝐿 𝐿𝐼𝐴 a standout. How about him? He looks to be a very exciting player. And 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴 played a fantastic game too, so massive win for the Bulldogs. Then Hawthorn versus Richmond. Tipped the Tigers here, and I was always going to be backing in the Tigers. And now with their, I'm pretty sure it's their third win in the row, geez, they're really building onto something. I said it's last week or the week before. I feel like they're going to start building onto something, and geez, they're possibly another threat for finals. So no team, you know, maybe top 4 could be locked in. There's no real lock for a number of teams that are currently in the 8. It's going to be very interesting. And yeah, the Tigers, fantastic. How good was it to see Dusty back at his best? He's, I think, 2 weeks in a row now kicked over 2 goals and 20 disposals. That's just the stuff that he's able to do. Brilliant. Then North Melbourne versus Port Adelaide, of course, did tip Port, and they got a massive win over Northern Hobart. And yeah, similar to the Tigers, Port Adelaide have won a few in a row. That's 4 on the trot now. And again, another team perking up for finals, possibly. Then St Kilda and Geelong Cats went for the Cats here. Kind of backed in the safe option because Geelong usually play great footy against St Kilda. And how about that? The Saints turned it on in the second half. Jack Steele was sort of out, had to move forward and have less impact. And Higgins was out too, but geez Louise, even with those consequences and those circumstances, they put on a firing display. Paddy Ryder had a game, well, fantastic game in the ruck. Jade Gresham just keeps on getting better and better, and just their midfield in general, with still not really up to his best compared from last year. There's just a lot of numbers like Crouch, Gresham just mentioned before, Jack Sinclair really rising up and showing that they are potentially A-grade players, and that's why St Kilda are doing so well this season. So yeah, massive win against the Cats, their first win against the Cats since 2016. Then the Sydney Swans versus Essendon, and geez, the Swans played some good footy here, winning by 58 points, but of course it was at the expense of Essendon playing one of the worst performances we've seen out of any team this year, possibly. Only laid 30 tackles, that's the lowest ever recorded this year, and it's just wow, really concerning for a number of their midfielders, a number of their players that should be playing better. As for the Swans though, it was a perfect response, and it is a good opportunity for them now, with a little bit of form, to take it into some next important fixtures. Then Adelaide versus Brisbane. Lions tipped the Lions here, of course, and geez, they had a bit of a scare in that second quarter. Adelaide, I'm pretty sure, were leading at half time, and I honestly thought it was going to be a bit of a repeat from last year where Adelaide beat the Demons at their home deck, but no, Lions just cruised past them. Cam Rata, Charlie Cameron was superb, and how about Zorko's goal as well? That was an absolute beauty. Then the Suns versus Fremantle. Wowee, the Suns put on 2 brilliant wins in a row, and you know, I definitely thought that they'll play good footy here, but I certainly didn't really expect them to win. I thought Fremantle's midfield and their defence would be tight and win this game, but then, as mentioned last week, it's tough to play up at Gold Coast at the moment. Conditions are tough, and from that game it was pretty much wet weather footy, and even though Fremantle had more inside 50s, Suns just dominated the contested possessions, and they simply wanted it more. They wanted to play the hard ball. They played to the conditions, and they were superb and pretty much shell-shocked a bunch of those Freo players, and they won by 46 points. Massive win, and geez, the Suns a chance for finals this year. Then Giants against Carlton. Pretty sad to see Leon Cameron lose his last game ever as Giants coach, but you know, it was great in the end that he got a standing ovation and a walk-off, which is nice to see. But speaking of Carlton, great win. You know, they haven't been too great interstate, and that was a professional win pretty much. Forward line was awesome. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴's having a great season with Mackay out as well. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴, he peaked at the right time. In midfield as well, 𝗏𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴, 𝗏𝐿𝐼𝐿𝐼𝐴, the usual, playing great footy too. Then the final game, Eagles versus Demons, and as per usual, did tip the Demons here, and they got, you know, an expected win, a massive win it was. And how about that? Eagles kicked the first goal of the game, so I thought there could have been a bit of an upset in making, but nah, Demons again, just classy side, and they seem to be going to be undefeated for quite a while, I feel. Just before we get into my tips for round 10, let's go over the top 10 of my AFL tipping competition, ESPN Tips. If you haven't joined, by the way, make sure to join up. Free to join. Link is in the description down below. So here's the top 10. 10th, 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐵 Bay with 75 points. 9th, Ben Platinum with 75 points. 8th, Jason's Raiders with 76 points. 7th, 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 with 76 points. 6th, 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐎𝐴𝐷 with 76 points. 5th, Jacko Crows 123 with 77 points. 4th, Batrooney with 78 points. 3rd, Demons Premiers 2021 with 79 points. 2nd, Richmond for Life with 79 points. And 1st, 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, as per usual, keeping his first place spot with 81 points. Okay, let's kick it off with my tips for round 10. By the way, fellas, I've set a joker round finally. It's my first joker round I'm going to set, so I will be earning double points this round. I'm feeling confident in this round. I believe I can do well. So anyway, first game, Carlton versus the Sydney Swans. Geez, finally, about time we've got a good Friday night game, and this could be a really good quality matchup between both sides. It's good to see Swans get a massive win last week, and they're really going to show that can they do it now with a top quality opposition at the moment with Carlton. Again, I think it's going to be tough. For this match, I believe it's going to be the case of whoever's midfield will get on top, they will win this game. Carlton's midfield is top 2 or top 3 in the competition at the moment, and I believe if Swans can match that, because Carlton's defence has been somewhat average this season, they concede quite a number of points. The Swans can really pile on a number of goals. But I believe that Carlton's midfield is just probably a bit too good for the Swans, I feel. They're just very dominant, they're playing excellent, and the chemistry is linking very well. Cripps, Walsh, Stewart, they're the big 3 players that can really carry this side to get 4 points. There isn't going to be 𝐬𝐿𝐼𝐻, but I believe that Durden and 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 will be sneaking around and kick a few, because the Swans' general defenders this year haven't been too great. So I'm going to be tipping Carlton here. Again, whoever's midfield will get on top, I believe will win the game. It's still going to be a really quality game of footy. I reckon it's going to be close, but could be a bit of a nip and tuck battle, but no, Carlton will get this win, and they will win by 16 points. Next game, we've got Geelong taking on Port Adelaide at 𝐺MHBA Stadium. Interesting game, this one, because Port Adelaide are 4 on the trot now, and this is now a big test for them. They've, beaten the Eagles. They had a really good win against the Bulldogs. They've beaten North Melbourne, so they've been a few lower quality sides. Can they now do it at one of the hardest venues to play, and one of the hardest teams to play at this particular venue of 𝐺MHBA Stadium? One of the hardest to play in the AFL. I think head-to-head, it could be a very even contest, this one, but for me, it's just the 𝐺MHBA Stadium home field advantage. I don't know if Port Adelaide can really play that great footy over there. Who knows? Again, could be a really close contest, but I'm going to be backing in the Cats here, and they are going to be winning a close one here. I think it's going to be a close one, and they'll win by 8 points. Next game, we've got Western Bulldogs taking on Gold Coast at Mars Stadium. Usually for the Bulldogs, Mars Stadium is a place where they can typically win. They did that last year, but this year, geez, a poor performance against Adelaide, and now they're taking on Gold Coast, a much tougher opposition than Adelaide, I do feel. And geez, Gold Coast, how about them? Last 2 weeks, they've been magnificent. If Gold Coast can win this game, they do have Hawthorn and North Melbourne the next weeks, and they could potentially go 3 from 3 here and be in the 8 in 3 weeks' time. But this game, it's a massive game for both teams. And geez, do Western Bulldogs have it in them? I believe they do. They should win this game, but let's go the risky tip here. I'm feeling that Gold Coast, they did it last year at Mars Stadium. They had a great game against the Giants, and I'm just feeling it. They are seriously playing great footy at the moment. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, Muller, maybe 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, 𝘉𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 have been magnificent, and also their, lower key players like 𝘬𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, 𝘬𝐿𝐼𝐻, 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, 𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, Isaac Rankine's in great form too. I'm feeling that they're going to get a massive win here and win. I think, yeah, it's going to be another close game, I reckon, and they'll win a close one by 7 points. Then North Melbourne taking on Melbourne, and geez, how about this for North Melbourne? They're versing tough opponents, and it just keeps on getting worse and worse from now having to take on the Demons, and I think we all know which way this game is going to go. Demons should get a massive win here, and they'll win this game by over 12 goals. 82 points. Then we have Adelaide taking on St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. Geez, what a contest this is. Last week, Adelaide, they almost pulled off the upset kind of against the Lions. Well, second quarter-wise, they did. And as for St Kilda, yes, massive win last week, and another team in contention for the top 4, I believe. There's a number of teams vying for that 4th spot, and they could be potentially one of them. And these are the games they've got to win if they do want to see top 4. And because of this, I'm feeling good about St Kilda at the moment, in some fine form. And geez, it was a perfect response against Geelong. Shows resilience, that win that they did have last week. And I will be backing in St Kilda here, and they'll pick up another important win and win this game by 16 points. Then we have Richmond taking on Essendon. Bit of dream time at the MCG. How good? By the way, fellas, I forgot to say, it is Sir Douglas Nicholls round 10 and also round 11. So it's going to be great to see a number of Indigenous Guernseys around the competition. This is one of the best games of the round, or one of the most exciting games to watch. Maybe not head-to-head wise, but it's still a great atmosphere. And I'm pretty sure the last time Essendon did beat Richmond was 2014. I heard that stat float around somewhere, and because of this, Richmond, they're building onto something. Essendon, look, they could put up a bit of a response. This week could be a massive training week for him, but I think the Tigers are just too strong for him at the moment. And I'm going to be tipping the Tigers here, and they'll get a nice win, comfortable win by 26 points. Now for the Sunday games, and we have Giants taking on the West Coast Eagles. Such a shame last week that, they did lose with Leon Cameron's last game, but they did play somewhat decent footy. I think at the start of their game, the Giants, they were, 20 points down. It was a bit of a shocker, but Giants always find a way. I feel they're the resilient side, and they have shown lapses of playing some great footy. And again, it's against the Eagles, so it should be a pretty convincing win. And also, it is the first game under Mark McVeigh, the interim coach. So hopefully, he keeps players in their positions. He keeps Taranto in the midfield. He keeps Tom Green in the midfield. That will be a blessing for fantasy players. And anyways, Giants should get a good win here and win by 32 points. Now for Hawthorn taking on the Lions at 𝐼𝐻𝐿 Stadium in Launceston, or Launceston. I don't know how you pronounce it, it's one way or the other. Anyway, Hawks, they're starting to slump quite a bit, but still, they are a very competitive side, and as I've said many times, a team not to write off, not to sleep on, because they do have some really good numbers in there, but I do believe that they have one of the worst midfields in the comp. They just cannot last 4 quarters at the moment. Tom Mitchell's being out. Warp was playing terrible. Shaun Newcomb's been an absolute star, but again, he just hasn't been, playing very good footy for the full 4 quarters. He could play great for 2 quarters and then could just, kind of hide and fade away for the last 2. But anyway, it's against the Lions, so they've been great this season, the Lions, and they should pick up a nice win here, and they'll win by 38 points. And for the final game of the round, we have Fremantle hosting Collingwood at Optus Stadium. You really do back in Freo here at home playing Collingwood after just a disappointing loss last week. It's just a bit of a shame to see their fans really witness that, but hey, you're not going to play great footy every round, and they should bounce back in this game. Still, at home, they should get a full, massive crowd, and I think that's really lifting them. It's going to be a massive fortress, I believe, this year for Fremantle playing at Optus. And there are a few question marks on Collingwood at the moment. Could they potentially start to slump now? The game style, it was so good at the start of the season, but as I said back then, it's just not going to be a very sustainable one this year. There's going to be a lot of skill errors, and we saw that last week because, if you're playing that attacking footy, you are going to be leaking goals. And Freo, defensively sound, as I've said many times before, they'll pick up a massive win here, and we're going to call it a big one. Freo will win this game by 44 points. So everybody, there are my tips for round 10 of the 2022 AFL season. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you wanted to enjoy today's video. Also, feel free to comment down below, tell me what you think of my tips, and get chat in the comments down below. Love to hear your fellas' thoughts. So anyways, fellas, that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.